Hello, everybody. This is Donna Norris. Welcome back to my channel. I really appreciate you being here. And today we're doing another episode of Awakening Journey. And today's featured speaker is my good friend, Allison Michaela. And Allison is an evidential medium. And I'm going to let her explain a little bit more to you about what that means if you haven't heard through any of my own videos. But Allison and I met last year. And I really think a lot of her. She's an amazing medium. So I'm going to, without further ado, turn it over to her. Thank you. Allison, welcome.
Thank you, Donna. And it's such a pleasure to be here, such a privilege to be invited onto your channel. And like you, I'm an evidential medium. And essentially, that means that we connect with spirit and we provide evidence that people that have passed, that their energy does not die with the human body, that actually they continue to exist. And so as a reader, as an evidential medium, we work with clients on a one-to-one basis or as part of a demonstration, and we will connect with spirit and we'll give them some evidence that they will recognize. And that evidence is not normally sort of name, address, telephone number. What it is their personality. So you recognize the person that you loved, you recognize the things that they love to do, you're reminded of memories, you're really reminded of their essence, like they're in there with you. And then once we've got that evidence and we're all sure and you know who we've got, then we get a message from them, a message from spirit that they really want you to hear. So that's evidential mediumship, and it's an absolute privilege to work with spirit.
Yes, it's an amazing, lots of goosebump moments for me.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
hopefully for the reader.
Absolutely. And having lost people myself and being on the end of that as a sitter as well, I truly appreciate the importance of it, the sacredness of it. I know you are an expert animal communicator as well, and sometimes it's not just our humans that we miss, it's our dear animal friends too.
Yeah.
So it's such an important thing to reach out and let as many people know as possible that spirit are always there, they're always around us, they always want to communicate. And as a medium, my job is to try and get the one you really want to hear from, and to get those messages through, and to give you a little bit of insight and direction as to where to move forward. So that's an amazing tool, and I'm very lucky to have met you, to have met my mentor and a great group of friends through my journey into mediumship.
Yeah, I think the two of us met studying under Charlie Kelly. He's another famous British medium, and he's just done this work for, I think, over 20 years.
Yeah.
And he is a very down to earth, right?
He is.
Tell it like it is kind of medium.
Charlie
And
is
I love his
amazing.
style. Yeah.
Charlie is amazing. And, he has a YouTube channel too. He's absolutely direct. He is an excellent teacher because he really makes you remember that it's not about us. It's not about our wish to look good. It's really important that you allow spirit. We're just the Amazon driver, is what Charlie would say, delivering the package. It's not for us to know what's in the box. But he really has broken down mediumship to enable people to learn the tools, to learn the trade, to give it the professionalism, to give it the quality, and to really set the bar high for the evidence. And the evidence he brings through is just awesome. It's a privilege to be under his mentorship. And he doesn't mess about. He's very clear cut. And but his main wish is to see all of his students move forward, because there can be never enough mediums in the world, right? We're all different. We all have a different personality. We all have a different way about us, and we'll all work work differently with different people. So the more mediums there are, the more people we can connect with. And when you hear Charlie's story, you know, he lost his sister. That was his pathway into mediumship. And so many mediums actually come to this floor, come to this development pathway through loss. You know, that
Right.
awareness of spirit, and then loss leads you down to a path to say, hang on a minute, there is more than this. Let's find the evidence. And when you start to hear the evidence, then there's no going back, because it's kind of a watershed moment, isn't it? It's that
Well, there's
belief, you know. Yeah,
it
yeah,
becomes
absolutely.
undeniable. I mean, there
Yeah.
are things that come through that you and I would have no way of knowing about people
Absolutely,
otherwise.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
remember, you know, I've always had an interest in spirit, and I remember going to a mediumship as quite a young teenager, and the evidence that was brought through was just phenomenal about my dad who had passed when I was 7, and I knew they brought through strawberries, which was a really personal story to me with my dad. We went on
Hmm.
holiday, and I had been in a hotel, and I dropped this plate of food, and this waiter had come over, and I'd been terribly upset because it was a very posh environment. It was busy, and they took us over to the table, and he brought through this massive bowl of strawberries, to kind of say, don't worry that you've
Oh,
dropped all this food. And this medium retold this story to me, and I was like, wow, goodness me. And then they brought me some evidence that I didn't know. And I was kind of like, okay, I can take the strawberries, I can take that, but I don't know all this other stuff. And I went home and I asked my mum, and she was like, oh, well, we never told you this, but. And then she was able to put all of the pieces of the puzzle together. And I was like, wow. And then, you know, and then you know, I'd always believed in spirit because I was 7 when my dad passed. So I always felt him with me. I've always known he's been with me. Then I wanted to be a medium. I was like, oh, I want to do this. And I tried really hard as a teenager, and it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't, I wrote the books. I read all of the things. There wasn't the internet like there was now. But I'd always had that interest, that belief, and then life happens, doesn't it? You know, we get into
oh,
work, and we get lives, and you know, throughout our lives we have interests that come and go. But certainly it's always been something that's been with me. So I think it's having that grief journey helps, I think, because it just enables you to recognize the sacredness and the emotional level that you're connecting with somebody on. Really, really important. Really important.
right. And for those of you who are in America listening, just want to point out there's a bit of a difference in culture in that in the UK, spiritualism and mediums are a lot more commonplace. They're widely accepted. And here in the US, we're just now coming into,
Mm.
I guess, mainstream, you know,
Yeah.
whereas it's been kind of fringe in years and decades past. We have had a few famous mediums come through and, you know, help to establish some credibility for mediumship. But over there, it's not at all unusual to have a medium, just like you have a dentist and a doctor and a hairdresser, and you know, everybody has their favorite. And so children go to and teenagers go to hear mediums, and that's not uncommon over there.
I think I was potentially a little bit unusual. I think mediumship is a lot more mainstream in the UK than it is in the USA. Absolutely. I think the accessibility is there. I think there is still a cohort that don't believe or that would be judgmental. And certainly in my journey, I have really experienced firsthand people's different way of looking at you when you become a medium. But I think because I always was convinced and talked to my dad, I always did that, always felt him close. for me, I was brought up a Christian. I experienced lots of different religions in the sense of different types of Christianity. My best friend was Jewish. One of my grandmothers was something called a Salvation Army. So they had a lot of singing. There was lots of different branches of Christianity. I sang in a church choir. I led the Sunday school. So I haven't always been mainstream spiritualism, but I always had a absolute belief and knowledge within myself that spirit was there. Spirit, my dad was there. I just knew that, I had that sense of. So I think as soon as I sniffed out anything to do with a mind, body, and soul fair, which is, you know, these little festivals or these little one day markets, if you like, where you will find readers, you'll find crystal sellers, you'll find
Oh, right. Yes.
lovely
Yes.
products there. You know, I would always sniff those out and go. You know, I would always have a look round. I would always be very, very at home there. When I went to do my nurse's training, I'd often find myself in this shop round the corner that sold cards and crystals, and I'd like nothing better than the smells and looking at it all. I just felt so at home there. So I think that for me, and my mum had a good friend, or has a good friend, that was a medium. And so I was exposed to it in that sense. And I always remember my sister had a terrible accident when we were on holiday once with my mum's friend who was a medium. So we were all on holiday together. And she provided healing for my sister, and she just pulled me up alongside her and just taught me how to tune in and give my sister healing. And I must have been about 10 at the time. And it just felt like the most normal thing in the world to join this medium in healing. And she's traveled the world. And I just saw her a couple of weekends ago. She's in her 80s now, and an amazing journey as an international medium. So I think that I was privileged to have that exposure, privileged to have that openness of mind and thought that there is a potential, that there is this different way of looking at things, but also exposed to people having many different ways of viewing the world, and that's okay. And so I always had this interest. And then, as I said, normal life took over. And for me, you know, I worked hard, it got into my job, family life. As I said, I was a nurse for many years, and really enjoyed that. That was a real calling for me, that being able to help people, being able to make them more comfortable, being able to be there in that hour of need was a really important part of who I was in my soul, I think. I've only come into evidential mediumship in sort of the last 5 years, which has been an interesting journey for me, or certainly explored it in a more formal sense, should I say. Definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense. And
absolutely.
I think a lot of us have been exposed to cards and card readers,
Yeah,
and that's a wonderful gateway type. I
yeah.
call it a gateway tool, you know, toward being able to receive messages, you know, through the cards.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Spirit will
Uh,
work with us any way they can.
yeah, they will, they will. And there are some amazing card readers, and that's an art in itself. You know, that is a skill set in itself. And I have full respect for card readers. You know, they are an amazing tool. And you know, there's some amazing psychic readers out there, and there's a real need for psychic reads as well, which is psychic
Mhm.
is slightly different from evidential
Yes.
mediumship, but there is a need for both. There is a need for both. And I'm working with a few people who I'm working with someone who won't mind a name check, Cameron, who is an amazing card reader, but actually he knows he's a medium, and now he's going to learn to not hide behind his card, and he's taking those steps forward
Good.
to take those steps as being an evidential medium. So the world needs it all, because
Yeah,
people come in through different doors, different pathways, and they have different
absolutely.
needs. And as far as I'm concerned, it all comes from spirit. So as long as it meets those needs, and as long as it's a way that people feel safe and can explore and go to, then that's a really good thing, a really good thing,
Yeah, that's
really
one of
good
the ways
thing.
I use to open up as well. You know, I
Yeah,
read cards and
yeah.
studied cards for a long time, tarot cards and
Mm,
oracle cards both. Yeah, they're fascinating. I
absolutely.
still use them. I don't
Yeah.
have as many decks as I did once upon a time when I had a bigger house. I had almost 100 decks.
Oh my
I had the same
goodness.
fascination that
Yeah.
you did with those little stores.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they start off with cards and actually they're quite shocked at how accurate they can be.
yeah,
And that's a pathway in, isn't it? It's an
yeah.
amazing pathway in. And I remember when my interest started to reignite, that was something that I revisited and thinking, oh gosh, where am I going with this? And let's get them out of the drawer and blow the dust off them and see where we're going. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, they're
So,
fun. Even mediumship can be fun.
oh,
Depending on where you are, if your loss is fresh,
yeah,
it's a little more serious, but
yeah,
you know, it can be fun as well.
yeah,
You
it
can
can
share
be.
lots of wonderful, loving, laughter-filled memories, and it can be
Absolutely.
really nice.
Oh, it can be. And like you say, when loss is fresh, or it touches a button, even when it's not fresh, and it just takes you to a place that is more
Mhm.
painful. But when my sister comes through, and she makes a joke about my hair, I'm right back as if she was in the room because that is what she did. And that's the wonderful thing about mediumship. When we really bring their essence through, it's important we don't put them on a pedestal. We remember them as they were. Our relationships were authentic, and nobody is perfect. And the banter or the humor that you have between you when you were together on this earth plane and having a physical human relationship, whether that be sibling, parent, partner, or friend,
Mhm.
in a good mediumship link, you should get that feeling back as to the relationship between you. It should be similar. So if you shed a lot of laughter, then that message should also, or that evidence should be filled with some of that laughter. That's a really important part of your story together. Really
Yeah,
important
that's
part of your
true.
story together. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sometimes I can feel myself like shaking with laughter. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it
Yeah.
ever comes through to you that way.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
hear laughter in the
Yeah.
background too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, definitely.
I love how each one is different. You never know
Yes.
what to expect because everybody's different and all the stories are different. But they
Yeah.
do tend, spirit does tend to work with us through our own frame of reference, right? They
Yeah.
bring through things that we might remember that is something that triggers the memory for the person who's sitting in front of you as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I did a read the other day, and as mediums, we all have our strengths, or maybe they're not strengths, maybe they're comfort areas. So we have a way of reading or a way of receiving the information from spirit that we just feel more comfortable, whether we hear it,
Hmm.
sense it, or when you get into a good rhythm of a read and you're feeling comfortable and it's coming through as you normally use it. But mentors like Charlie will teach us lots of different techniques so that we're not reducing the ability of spirit to communicate. So we're by
Right.
using lots of different techniques, lots of different senses, you're opening up the potentials. And one of those is something called remote view. And it's something that I do, but it's not my comfort zone. Okay. And so I was doing a reading the other day, and it was like I was in the room and I was like, whoa, this is really different. And then everything that I saw, it was almost like being in my grandmother's house, even to the china. And I kept coming back to this bowl and I
Hmm.
had to describe it. And I was thinking, am I really in my head now? Because this feels really familiar and I'm really seeing it. And the lady described it back at me, and it was exactly as it should have been. So they were using
Yeah.
my memories of being in my grandmother's house in order to share with this lady something very specific that she had that was similar, because I'd forgotten all about this dish from my grandmother. But it was really important for me to share that because it reignited a memory for her. So it's amazing how they work and pushes out of our
Yeah.
comfort zone sometimes, so that we can get the best evidence possible and the best layers of that memory for your sitter, which is really important, isn't it? To help them
Yeah.
feel like they're right back there. That's really, really important, really, really an essential part of it. So
Right, because
yeah,
it's something, it sometimes is something so random, seemingly random to us, that's
yeah,
a really big gold nugget for them. That's like, oh my gosh, that's what sends them over the edge.
yeah,
So this is
yeah.
definitely them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so, somebody mentioning my hair will be a big moment for me with my sister. The little things that we think, well, that's just, that's just a description, or that's just, it's not for us to censor that. It's not for us to decide that. We literally have to give what we get. And when we don't do that, when I add something on, I'll say, oh, it's this or that. It will always be this. It will always be the first thing that came out of my mouth, and it's only the add-on that's wrong because I added to it. So spirit, we just have to trust. It's a huge exercise in trust. But when spirits start, tapping your shoulder and saying, come on, this is your journey, then they don't go away once that ignites. And when it
No,
comes
they
back
don't.
to you, um, as I said, as a teenager, I was really keen, I was really interested, and then life took over, and then it came back, and I was in a position. I lost my sister, and I wanted a mediumship read, and I was thinking, where do I get one? How do I get one? Am I even ready for one? And I started looking and just checking
Mm.
out different places, and I found a website that it's one of these you put pictures on, and you get a read, so you don't
Oh,
pay,
okay.
you put pictures on. And so I started just looking. My interest was just growing, and I was just looking. And then I found myself actually typing little comments about these pictures, just sort of, encourage people to read. And I didn't even see myself as reading. I was just commenting. And then really quickly, I was getting loads of stuff right. And I was like, oh, that's weird.
Oh,
And I didn't even think about it. I just sit there and type this stuff, and people go, yes, 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 yes. And then I started to really enjoy
oh my
it, and I started to
gosh.
do more, and I started to answer more. And then the people on the page contacted me and said, oh, we'd like you to be one of our proper readers, our verified readers. And I was like, pardon? I've only been doing this for a couple of months. So, I was only just started answering. And so then I went on an awakening
Ooh,
course, and so once you take that little baby step, it's kind of like somebody's pushed you, and before you realize it, you've done these courses, and you've explored that, and then this opportunity comes, and that opportunity comes, and it's
yeah.
almost like it organically just happens, because the opportunities, when you're at that right moment in your life, spirit will just keep putting these things in front of you that happen.
Yeah.
And
And you think
I
at first, oh, this is serendipitous,
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
imagine that.
yeah,
And when about the 10th or 11th time you have a serendipitous moment, you kind of
yeah,
go, oh,
yeah,
thank you.
absolutely, absolutely. And you do, and
Uh,
it's amazing. And I was lucky enough to find Charlie's classes, Charlie Kelly,
mhm.
and joined those. And lockdown happened, and the world all stayed at home, which was then a wonderful opportunity to be on Zoom and to be in class. And that
Yes,
also, I think, changed things, because prior to that, you had to join more of a traditional circle where you all sat, in a room together, whereas lockdown changed all of that. I've sat in circles, met some wonderful people, but
sure.
most of my development was online, and that suited me because I was working full time, and with my nursing hat on, I had to keep the two things quite separate, because they didn't always mix. So Allison the
Right.
medium, and Allison the nurse had to be quite separate. So that was an interesting time for me, to explore, to learn, develop. But it's as you know yourself, Donna, once you start, it's just so magical. It's just so amazing. You just want to, you
More.
need to, you're pushed forward. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's about the work. It's about being an animal advocate or bringing forward
Yeah.
spirit, to try to bring some healing and some encouragement,
Oh,
hope,
absolutely. It
it's
is to
just
be in
amazing.
service. It is to be in service. And
Yes.
when you see the healing that mediumship or healing brings, it's so It's so amazing. It is
It's
so amazing.
gratifying beyond words.
Oh,
Yes.
it genuinely is. It genuinely is. And then when you step from the classroom to working with the public, that's another step forward again, because there's real need there, because in the classroom everybody is most people have lost somebody, most people have got, however many number of mediums have got some really tragic stories that have taken them, to their pathway into mediumship.
Right.
But actually when you work with people, and sometimes I always know I'm meant to be somewhere. Okay, so if I do a fair or I do something, it's because spirit pushed me there. And one day I'd signed up to do this fair, where I have a little table where I do reads from, and there'll be, just like I used to go to when I was younger, there'll be crystal sellers and
Oh,
wonderful,
sure.
loads of different people selling their wares, and there I am with my reading table. And I'd made a mistake about booking it. But if I've booked something, I'll never back out, because that's my commitment. And it was actually quite a few hours away. It was 3 hours away from my home, because I'd got mixed
Ooh,
up in locations. And I was like, wow, okay. So I drove for 3 hours, and it was this tiniest little hall. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went there, met some wonderful people, and it was quite quiet because it was a new one. And I was just thinking, well, this is a learning curve. I'm here for a reason, and I know that. And I sat down. And the first person through the door was a lady that sat down for a mediumship reading. And I read for her, and her son came through, and it was the anniversary of his death that day. And I just
yeah.
knew I was supposed to be there on that day for that moment. And there is no greater
Right.
privilege of being able to connect a mum and son, and be part of that journey. That is just you can't put that into words, can you? You can't. And
Mm-mm.
so I knew why then I'd made that error and booked it, and why I was supposed to be there. And those sorts of things keep you going, don't they? Because
They do.
when times are hard, or you're thinking, have I done the right thing? Is this right for me? And then you see that healing, you see that connection. Yes, it is. It's a privilege to work with spirit. Absolutely.
Yeah. I
Absolutely.
think now that both of us are transitioning into doing this work full time and
Yeah.
transitioning out of our
Yeah.
3D day-to-day careers, yeah,
Mm.
it's easy to do, but it's wonderful to be able to focus on those kinds of experiences and remember why we're really here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I look
And
forward to each one. I get nervous, but
oh,
I look forward to them.
oh my goodness, yeah. I say yes to everything, and then regret
Yes.
it deeply beforehand, and then jump in with both feet. But when I decided to do this full time, one of the reasons I called myself authentic medium was not because I didn't think other people were authentic, but I do feel that there's something, and Charlie has taught us, to raise that bar of practice, to make sure that we're doing the very, very best that we can,
Yes.
deliver the best, that we are being true to people, that it's a sacred work, to bring through people's loved ones and to share that. But it was also about me and my journey, because you have to develop yourself when you are coming into whatever sort of light or spirit work you do. There's this journey of self-development for yourself. And for me, it was around I'd been doing mediumship online, with people in America and Australia, and across the UK, but nobody knew locally that I was a medium. And so it's part of me saying, actually, this is me being authentic. And this is me stood in my authenticity, saying, I'm not hiding it anymore. Yes, I'm a medium. Yes, this is me, and that's coming through. So there's this huge journey, isn't there, as you go through, and you start
Yeah,
to trust, and to do it full time is a big step forward, isn't it? It's a
it
massive
is.
trust exercise to say, okay, this is my calling, and I'm going to follow it. And it's really
Yeah.
important. But spirit will
I
always
love that.
provide. Yeah,
Yeah. I love that. You just put it in your name. It's an instant
yeah,
reminder every time.
yeah. No
Wow.
hiding. No
I love
hiding.
that. Nope.
Yeah,
Nope. Yep. I'm
absolutely.
in the same position that you are. I think coming out as a medium was probably, it's been one of the most difficult things, to do,
Yeah.
but here I am.
Yeah.
And it's, it hasn't been nearly as divisive or traumatic or, upsetting as I thought it would be, at least not for
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
And it's just been, oh, okay,
I mean, yeah, I'm not
wonderful.
gonna lie. There have been some real challenges for me. Um, but how I address them is different because I'm confident now in my family. I know my family love me. I've got a really strong base there. I know my spirit team have got me, and I've got a huge number of really important people to me in spirit. And I now know that if people choose to judge me or choose to have a judgmental view about who I am or what I do, then they've just got their journey for themselves to go on. And maybe one day they'll look at it differently, and maybe they won't, but that's their journey, not mine. And so I know that they're just not in the right place at the moment to understand who I am and where I'm at. And I can just send them love and on their way, and we can just respectfully do that.
Sure.
There has been it would be wrong to say there hasn't been judgment because there has, but it's not stopping me and it's not changing me because spirit is pure love. How can something that's based on pure love and bringing people in service, helping communities, bringing positivity, bringing light, encouraging people to be non-judgmental, regardless of our beliefs or our way of being, and just be kind. That to me is what spirit is all about. So how could that possibly be wrong?
Right.
And that's a really important part of of life, actually, learning that not everybody needs to like you. And that was a big thing for me, I feel, in my journey, accepting that I didn't have to be the most important person. I didn't have to have the title. I didn't have to be liked in that way.
Right.
That's fine. I'm still okay. And that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. Not everybody in my family is supportive.
Yeah.
Not all my friends are supportive, and that's
Yeah.
okay. It doesn't matter if they believe in what I do or
Yeah.
if it's in their faith belief system.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it any less real or true. And we just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
still the same
It's
person I was before they knew. So
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
It's yeah, and but I always think as well, the more people we reach that maybe haven't heard of it or don't understand it or maybe aren't ready to embrace it, even if people have differing views, if you're making them think about it, even if they don't at this point in time embrace it, you're getting people to talk about it, and that's the important thing, isn't it? You're still spreading. If it just stays in the encapsulated bubble of those that believe and are true, then it's not going to grow. And what we want
right.
is there to be enough different practitioners out there for everybody to find the practitioner for them, for everybody to find the medium for them, to
Mhm.
find the light worker that way works in a way that they understand or speaks to them or meets their need. And that's what this is all about, isn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not speaking up and speaking out about being a medium because I'm trying to push anybody's buttons. I'm
Yeah,
hopefully speaking up and speaking out so that all the other people out there who are like me will know they're not alone. And like you
absolutely.
said, it'll get people talking, or if not talking, it'll at least get them thinking about
Yeah,
possibility. Because,
yeah,
for me, there's a difference between a skeptic whom you and I both have met with a lot of them in
yeah,
this field, and a cynic. A
yes,
cynic has a closed mind. They can't see anyone else's perspective but their
yeah.
own. And I don't know that anybody is ever going to change the perception of a cynic.
No,
But a skeptic at least has an open mind, and as long as they're open to the possibility, if they can sit and listen with an open heart and an open mind, I think they'll find that there is some evidence there, if not
yeah,
nothing else, common ground. And they'll see that, there's nothing to fear in it.
yeah,
I know some people are afraid of mediums, and I've never quite understood the fear aspect of it, but I do know that I make some people anxious.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things within that. just that I'd like to say, I think the first thing to say is that, we met through Charlie's classes, and there's also a group of mediums that have come together, that are really looking at how we support each other, how we can connect together, how we can share each other's journeys and try and help progression. And I know that we both belong to a group called Radiant Light, who's doing a lot of good things. But the most important thing for me about that group is the coming together of like-minded
The
people who
support.
are there.
Yeah,
The support is just phenomenal. So that's really
it sure
important on your
is.
journey. If you are thinking about going into doing mediumship or any kind of work, your support network is just so important, because you have to look into some dark corners of yourself, but also it can be really nerve-wracking and really vulnerable to stand up in front of people or in a classroom and say, and I have a man here, and not know what you're going to say, and then just give a read. That's a really vulnerable place to be. So I think that's one element of it. The second element, again, links back to Charlie and Charlie Kelly's philosophy, in the sense of the bringing the quality of evidential mediumship. And
Yes. And the
sadly,
ethics.
yeah, that the ethics, and there is some bad practice out there, and there are some people who do, Charlie would say, they peddle fear. Okay, so
Yeah.
they're selling stuff based on a fear-based belief system, so that people will engage, and then because they're scared, then they will spend money, and then they will do stuff. That is not spirit. That is not working with spirit. It's
Mm.
really important that we stamp down on that kind of practice. I met a lady. I went to a wonderful thing called a healing weekend, where I had a wonderful bell tent and read all weekend. And one lady came past in the evening, and she was like, "Oh, I want to read, but I'm really scared." And da, 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 da. And I just said, "Just come and sit and talk to me. I'm just, let's have a chat. Talk to me about what it is you're scared about. Help me understand, and I might be able to help you understand and allay some of those fears." And she went to an open demonstration, and was told some terrible things by a reader. And they stayed with her and they scared her. And that's a terrible, terrible thing. Spirit will never do things like predict somebody's death. They will never do things like, tell you you've got this terrible witchy wound that is causing you all sorts of health problems and all of these sort of things. That's
Right.
not light work. And it's really important that we're able to talk about some of those areas where people are scared, and they've got somewhere where they can come and say, "What do you think about this? Is this real?" And when they unpick it, we're able to understand what that's around and help them move forward. So I think, as much as I know some amazing, and I'm linked in with the most amazing readers, the most amazing mediums, there is still a small pocket of poor practice that's based on fear. And also the media, we've got to talk about the media, like those amazing mediums who've never had a no in their life.
Yeah.
The 30-minute, amaze read with the evidence, it gets straight to gold nugget after gold nugget because they edit it. And that's not real mediumship. And so it's really important that we're able to start that change of belief system, so we make it more accessible to people as well.
Exactly,
That's what
because your
I
loved ones are not stuck anywhere,
No,
in
they're
spite
not.
of what, and you're not cursed, they're
No,
not cursed. I
no,
mean, I've
no.
heard things like that, and it's so harmful.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
number one rule for me, and I'm sure for you too, is do no harm,
Oh,
because spirit
absolutely.
does no harm. Spirit has no harmful intent.
No, absolutely. They're just pure love. They are always there. They're always ready. They're
Yeah.
always available to come through. If I can't get a spirit, that's on my back because I'm not connecting with them. I'm not,
Mhm.
they are always there. They're not training or working or doing something and too busy to communicate with you, they are always with you. And that's a really important message that we need to start sharing with the world, that spirit are just this wonderful energy of our loved ones, of their essence, and the love they have for us continues. And they love us when we get it wrong, and they love us when we get it right. They just want to see us progress, and they want to help us, and they'll carry us when we need them to. And it's a wonderful tool for people to engage with.
And they're
Absolutely.
exceedingly patient. Yeah,
Oh,
much more
aren't
than
they
human.
just? Aren't they just? Aren't they just? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Uh,
we get support that way, and we need that too, just as much
yes.
as our clients do. And one of the things that I like to tell clients when we first sit down, or when we first start the meeting, is that I have two clients here. You know, I work for spirit as much as I work for you.
Yeah.
So, and I think that helps sort of
Yes.
create the three-way loop that enables
Yeah.
everybody to relax and be more conversive.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. That it's a huge exercise in trust. We're trusting
yeah,
that spirit won't, let us fall flat on our feet. But we're being trusted with the most incredibly sensitive, privileged information, that relationship that, I had with my sister, with my dad, with my
mhm,
grandparents, and a privilege to work with spirit, and spirit have chosen to work through us, through our minds, through our voice box, that we may share and be the connecting factor between those two people. So it is a
yeah,
huge trust relationship. So, ego has to step aside and allow this place of safety, this place of sacredness, where people do feel comfortable to laugh, cry, to engage, to allow this wonderful communication to unfold. Absolutely.
yeah.
It's
And the
really,
more we're able to do that, set ourselves aside, set our ego
yeah.
self aside, and just be that vessel, that channel, the less I'm able to remember anything after.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so confidentiality is a big part of what we do, and people,
Absolutely.
don't generally have to worry about it with me because I can't
No.
remember anything the next
I
day
know.
or the
It's
so
one thing, the one thing I say, because when you're sharing something so personal, and I've had some reads where I've been in tears. They've really got to the core of what it
yeah,
is. And so
really
then
intense.
when they see you again, I will remember the spirit's energy. So if I read again, I might recognize that energy when I connect with it, that actually, oh, I feel like I've connected with the spirit before. I recognize this energy, but what I won't remember is the evidence that was brought through, because it's almost like your brain is put to one side. And so
Yeah,
rarely will I remember the important details. And for some people that might seem quite heartless, or like you don't care, because it's their story. It's really important to them. I want you to remember that my sister and I had this joke about my hair, because it's really important to me. I want you to remember
yeah,
that, actually, the best reads for me are when somebody says, and your sister's got a dog here, you'd understand that. And that's a really important part of my story. So when I come back and you've forgotten those, that can seem like, well, did you really care? Was that fake, that relation, that moment that we had? But it's because it's not us and our human engaging in that moment, is it? We kind of, our ego has
right.
stepped aside, and it's coming through us. So we don't remember those details.
It's
And
because they don't bring
absolutely,
it forward a second time. They've already covered
yeah,
that. They want to talk about something
absolutely.
else. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. There's because they've got a whole
yeah.
lifetime to talk about.
True. Yes. And lots of other
Absolutely.
things going on because they keep an eye on what's going on with us. So they know.
Yes, they do.
They
They
may
do.
weigh in.
And remind of some evidence that's what we've been doing recently, or they'll
Hmm.
know what we've, how many times do we do a read, and the one thing that's on that person's mind comes through in the evidence, or comes through in the message. And that's
Right.
so uncanny, but it's not, because spirit's so intelligent. Why wouldn't they know? Why wouldn't they be around? So there we are going, wow, that's, how did you know that? But actually, spirit, of course they know. Of course they know. They have this infinite wisdom. They're around us. They can see, they feel, they know.
right.
And so it's amazing. Yeah, it
It's
is
one of the
amazing.
reasons I ask people to write down their questions ahead of time
Yeah,
because, and even if they don't write them down, they're at
yeah,
least thinking about it.
yeah,
And I know that because they're thinking about it, that spirit is keyed into it, be it
yeah,
animal or human.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so a lot of times when I'm just making the initial link and the initial connection, they're coming through with these things and they're covering the
yes,
questions. They're
yeah,
answering the questions before we can
yeah,
ever even ask them,
yeah,
and which blows the person away.
yeah,
So that's just
absolutely.
something I like to do because
Yeah,
even if even if we don't, even if spirit doesn't answer the question before they can ask it,
yeah,
they have it written down, and they're not, they cannot worry that they're going to forget because it's there in
yeah,
front of them,
yeah,
and it won't get lost because we do, you and I set ourselves aside and we're just being the vessel for spirit, but they, on the other hand, are sometimes, and I've been in this position as a sitter getting a reading. I just am so amazed and astounded that
yeah,
I'm like a deer in the headlights and I
yeah,
can't remember what in the
yeah,
world I ever wanted to ask. It's just
yeah.
like, just keep talking, just keep talking.
Yeah, absolutely. You just don't want the
So,
connection to go, do you? And it's
right,
like,
no,
and some people want all evidence because they want the memories, they want to remember. And other people are like, I know you've got her. Just give me, I want the message. Stop with the evidence. Just give me, I want the rest of
or
this half an hour. Just I need to hear what advice she or he has got for me. And
yeah,
that's quite personal. And it's like whenever there's a bit of evidence that spirit won't let go of, and they keep bringing it in and you're twisting it or trying to work it in a different way to make the sitter understand what on earth it is. And then after the read, they're like, oh my God, I've just remembered. I know exactly what that was. But because in the moment they're like, they're so
can't
there, they
think.
they they can't think, their mind goes blank because it is just such an awesome moment. So thinking of
Yeah,
questions ahead of time, or doing that is really important. But I'd also say it's really important for people to come with an open mind. Don't think, unless I hear the word purple or unless I hear this, then they're not there. Because if you recognize them, if you're laughing or smiling or crying because you recognize them, you know it's them. They've done their job. They don't need to give you whatever that thing was that you've created in your mind, that unless I do this, this is them, because you know it's them. So they also have to be a little bit open, because when you have a sitter that's worried or fearful or very stuck, it's harder for the energy to flow, isn't it? It's harder for that connection to flow. Not impossible, it just means we have to work more hard at it. And they've actually lost a little bit of their reading time because they're like, really uptight about it. So it's hard. It's hard. We all understand that. Nobody chooses to need a mediumship read, because that means you've lost somebody. That means, nobody would ever want to be in that position. But to get the best out of it, it's really important that you see whoever it is that you trust, and they work in a way that you feel comfortable. That's the most important thing,
right.
to really engage with that person. Absolutely. So
Well, I
it's
know, one of the things that you do in addition to doing readings, like we've been talking about, is that
mhm.
you also do training and you do classes. I mean,
Yeah.
I offer classes and you offer classes, but you offer classes, for children, well, not children, I should say teenagers, as with parents' permission, of course. If their abilities are starting to come through, you can help them further develop. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll work with parental permission. I'll work with anyone, actually, whether they're elderly or young, as long as they are there for the right reasons and they understand and it's a safe space. And I think that's a
Right.
really important thing. What I don't want to feel is that anyone has nowhere to go to ask the questions, to understand. And it may be that after one or two sessions that I'm able to point them in the direction of where they need to be or where they need to go, or to explore. I'm big on empowering people to explore for themselves, to find their own pathway, and then just to buffer back. But I was a children's nurse for many years, so I've worked with children and young
Ah,
people for
yeah,
a long time. And I think, it is important that we're not influencing, but teenage and when you're in your early 20s is a time of questioning. It's a time of finding your identity. It's a time of challenging the world, and many young people have been touched by profound loss. And therefore, if they've got questions, I'd far rather that there's a group of safe people with a good, strong ethical code where they can safely explore and answer, than for that not to be a potential, and for them then to either get confused or to be pulled towards maybe one of those fear-based belief systems, or to believe somehow there's something going wrong with them or their mental health, or they're having experiences that they don't understand. Many parents come and ask about youngsters who are chatting away, merrily chatting to as we know, probably spirit, or seeing things,
right,
and helping them put it in a safe space where we're not just closing this down and saying, right, well, that can't happen, this isn't a thing. Allowing normal childhood to take place, and to allow them to have a normal safe space is really important. But it has to be ethical, and if I have anything that I feel out of my comfort zone with, I've got a great group of people that I can go to and say, has anyone dealt with this? Can you recommend
right,
someone? I've got my mentor Charlie, who's very, very experienced, who I can go to and say, okay, this is. And I think that that's the biggest thing, not believing that you're the doorstop for everything. I need to be the
right,
open door so that everybody has somewhere safe to go. Really, really important. But why shouldn't we have these conversations? Why should it be hidden? If people are asking it, and 9 times out of 10, the answer in their head will be far worse, or confused, or scary, than actually just trying to help people understand what's going on. So yes, I will see anybody, as long as I feel they're supported, as long as I feel they're not in an unsafe or an unconsenting position. And my take on that is let's just listen to you. Let's understand where you're at, and where is it that you want to go, and is it classes that you need, and in which case let's get you a safe one. Let's find out what your thing is it mine, is it someone else's? Let's find you your tribe, let's find you your stepping stones so you can take it forward.
good. Yes, I agree. There's a
Absolutely.
whole world of modalities and teachers and
Isn't it
mentors.
amazing? Yeah.
And it really all does boil down to relationship, which
Yes.
is one of the reasons, I wanted to bring you here today. I'm trying to bring people to this channel, to this particular
Yeah.
series, to be exposed to all people from all walks of life with all these varied backgrounds and
Yeah.
histories, so that, perhaps your story might inspire somebody to
Yeah.
dig a little deeper, to think a little more deeply, or maybe take that first step toward psychic
Ah,
development, or building. I call it building the muscle, right? Working on
yes.
the intuitive
Yeah.
muscles.
Absolutely, because it does
Yeah,
take a huge amount. You have to be dedicated. You'll have the
yeah, and
interest. You'll
willing
you'll
for sure.
you'll be drawn. You'll be, there'll be so many different signs and things like that. But you do have to be committed, because it is something you have to do the work on. You have to practice. You have
Yes,
to find the right guide, find your tribe, and find your way forward. But do you know what? It is the most amazing thing. Yes, life can be tragic. Life can be so painful. I know that just as well as anybody else. And just because I 1,000,000% know in my core that spirit survives death, I know that. That doesn't mean to say I don't miss my sister, miss my dad. That doesn't mean to say
right.
that I don't deeply, deeply, with all of my soul, wish that I could change their story, their journey. But I also have this wonderful belief that they're still with me, and I can draw strength from that. And then you can be positive moving forward in the world. And so we have this choice to make, don't we, about sharing light, sharing this wonderful way of looking at the world, that if we put some goodness out there, if we help, if we're positive, it is karma. It all spreads, it all moves forward. And, we need to work across belief systems, across differences, and draw together with this positivity and light. And it's a wonderful thing. It genuinely is. And so, there are loads of different people out there. Find the person, and I would be so privileged if even one person explored their own pathway, or even went to get a read or attended a class or did something after listening to this discussion. Do it. It is such an amazing thing.
It
Absolutely.
can't hurt anything.
Ah,
Yes.
no, no,
Yeah.
can't hurt, can't hurt. It
So,
just brings big healing, big healing.
yeah. Now you
Absolutely.
have an in-person event coming up in the UK, right?
Yeah,
Soon?
yeah. I do, I do. So I've been working hard all summer, been doing lots of events. I've given myself August as being a quieter, more family-based
Good
time.
for you.
Yes, absolutely. And then I've got some wonderful training that I'm going to, because we all have to carry on learning, don't we, in September. And then in October, I'm in London. So very much looking forward to going to London and reading at the Alexandra Palace. Such a huge privilege to go to London and to be doing reads in that way. I've also got some really small events coming up, which I'm equally excited about because they're close to home. So
Good.
I'm doing more things closer to home. I read in my not my church, but the church in the town next to me just at the beginning of the month. Big step for me. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to going to London, putting myself out there and putting spirit out there. For me,
Yes.
it's about sharing the message. It's about drawing as many people in. And they don't have to come to my class. They're very welcome, but go to a class or get a read somewhere. Go with where you're drawn. Spirit want to help us, want to develop us. So yes, very
Yeah.
much looking
And
forward to
if
that.
you're not ready for a class, just try a workshop. Use a couple
Yeah,
of hours. Just
absolutely. Yeah.
stick a
Or
toe in,
even,
right?
yeah, or even a one-to-one session.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of people who've been amazing, but they didn't want to go to a class full of people. They just wanted a one-to-one, go off and do their own thing, come back, we talk it through, and then they come back again. So there's lots going on. Lots going on. I do a Facebook Live every other week, and I'm just about to go onto TikTok. So really appreciate that. That will be brand new. So I'd like to be working on
Yeah.
getting some followers and taking that forward again. And it's all about getting the messaging out there. It's about
Well, I'll be sure to
taking what
put
we
that in
do.
there. Yeah.
Brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, all
For
new
those of you who are
skills.
watching, Allison's contact information will be in the description of this video, so you'll be able to reach out directly to her. And she does Facebook Lives every other week, and I do YouTube Lives every other week. So
Brilliant.
I just did one this past Friday. I'll do another one, again, 2 Fridays from now. And so, yeah, there are
Yeah,
always opportunities to just expose
absolutely.
yourself,
Yeah,
because we don't charge for those. We just
yeah.
get on there and you can put your questions in the chat and we'll get to as many as we can in the time that we're given, right, Allison?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're brilliant. You're a fantastic reader. So definitely if I hope if people are watching your YouTube channel, they've been right on those lives with you, but definitely need to check those out. Really wonderful to see. And it's lovely to watch different mediums work, isn't it? And to, like you say, it's a free resource, helping people on their pathway forward, to get reads or to develop themselves, to understand more about it even, and to ask those questions that they've been thinking about. Let's get it all out there. Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Let's push it forward. Yeah,
bring the
absolutely.
questions. I know I'll be appearing at a conference in Denver, Colorado. I think we still have a few tickets left if anybody's interested in
Brilliant.
coming to Connect to Empower. It's Columbus Day weekend, which I think is the
Fantastic.
13th, 12th, 13th of October, somewhere in there. But I'll be working and I'll be presenting with 4 other metaphysical teachers, guides, shamans. So it's a wide
Fantastic.
assortment that weekend. We'll be doing presentations one day and workshops the next. And so there are all these different ways that you can be
Yeah,
exposed to this, just to,
yeah,
like I said, stick a toe in the water and see. So
absolutely.
anyway, Allison, it's been a real privilege having you here. I'm so
Thank you.
grateful. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for
It's been my privilege to be part of it, and thank you so much, Donna. And just
okay.
keep doing what you do. Thank you.
And hopefully we'll all go follow your TikTok and we'll be
Yes.
able to help see your videos there too. Thank you
Thank you.
again.
Take care. Bye
All right,
bye.
thank you. Bye-bye.